Let's talk about an enormous line item in a friend of ours' life. Makes the Observer. The biggest news of the past week is the firing of Bruce Prichard,
Mm.
a backstage producer who's been around wrestling since he was a teenager, working out of the Houston wrestling office for Paul Bosch. Prichard, best known for his late 80s, early 90s run as Brother Love, came to the WWF in 1987 with Joel Watts, right after Watts sold Mid South Wrestling to Jim Crockett. From a creative standpoint, he was for years one of the most influential people in the company, as for years the inner booking circle was Vince, Pat Patterson, and Bruce Prichard. He was fired in 91 and worked for Global Wrestling. He was negotiating with WCW when Patterson convinced Vince to bring him back in 93. It was actually 92. And he's been with the company ever since. Prichard is someone that few in the company would speak highly of, constantly accused of playing political games that everyone saw through, but seemed entrenched in power since he'd been close to Vince for so long. He was on good terms with Jeff Jarrett because both men shared a common struggle with their wives having long battles with cancer, although Prichard's wife is in remission. Prichard took the death of Jill Jarrett a couple of years ago very hard, to the point those in the company were afraid he could go off the edge. So I know you guys spent some time together during all of your stints in the WWF, and I know you had the real life commonality of having a wife struggling with cancer. And thankfully, Stephanie just celebrated her birthday as we're recording this a week or so ago.
Right on. Praise God.
Glad she still beat it and doing her thing. But this has to be somebody that's on your radar. I mean, I know that you're making budget cuts with agents and things like that, but you saw how he produced television. You knew what he was capable of, but you also read in the Observer there where he was not well liked. And I know that some of that is just politics and sour grapes and blah, blah, blah. What'd you think when you heard Bruce Prichard out at WWE after all that time?
I don't know if I've ever almost give you my original set point on Bruce. I don't anyway, in 1980, I'd have to Google it, 88, 89, 90, Tom Prichard came into the Tennessee territory, and then he went out to Texas. And so me and Tom became very close. I mean, real close, riding partners, rode together every day. And Tom, a few years older than me, was seasoned, had worked territories, worked San Antonio, worked for the Fullers, had worked, he was seasoned. And he helped me probably more than he'll ever know. And I've thanked him, but I mean, more than ever know. But I got to know Tom. You ride up and down the road, the guy, day after day after day. And in the Tennessee territory, we did about 3,500 miles a week. So that's a lot of car time together. And I got to understand, about his brother Bruce and his background. And then how many brothers were there originally, Conrad? 5? I think 5.
Yeah, sounds right.
Anyway, so just the different siblings and everything like that. So that's my original first time I've ever heard the name Bruce Prichard. And then, we went out and did the Dallas thing and all that. And then we came home, and then Bruce was a part of Global. We were long gone from that. But then start with WWF and the Double J character. And, I'm informed Kerwin Selfies, he's the director, and Bruce Prichard to come to produce it. And so then I meet Bruce, and I don't have to tell you, Conrad, you know better about anybody in the professional world how easy Bruce is, but also how professional and how productive. So he produces the first Double J vignettes. And look, I won't continue into this whole time, but that's kind of the original point. And then as I'm working there in 93 through 96, and then back 97 through 99, it's very obvious to see he's a Vince guy through and through. Vince obviously not just liked him, but thought very highly of him because of the position he was in. And I hear this in 2008, I was shocked, knowing by 2008, I left there in 2000, that company isn't anywhere remotely resemble what it was 8 years ago. And of course, they had gone through, the WCW situation and then come out of that. And, there was a lot of change and turnover and all that. I still couldn't really wrap my head around wait, they let him go? They've gone separate. Conrad, to say that it surprised me would be an understatement. And I immediately always thought about executives or wrestlers that had spent any time. And then by 2008, he had been there, 20 years, 20 something years. And company had been public. I was going to say, I don't think Bruce is really going to show any interest in us right now, at least for the foreseeable future. Would I have liked to have had him? Well, of course. That came to light in 2017. But at the time, I'm going, I ain't chasing him. His price tag is going to be way up there. That was my first thought.